Hogaak has been absolutely dominating the modern meta, and as a result, there are a number of people who are calling out for an emergency banning. And today, they got a response from Wizards of the Coast. Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles. Today we are here to discuss the Hogaak Scourge on Modern, the clamoring for emergency bans, and Wizards of the Coast response. So the first thing I want to do is briefly talk about Hogaak and why this card is so troublesome. So if you haven't seen it already, and I imagine most people have, but anyhow, Hogaak is a 7 casting cost 8/8 trampler. And you think to yourself, how much trouble can a 7 casting cost 8/8 trampler cause Magic the Gathering? Well, the truth of the matter is he's essentially free to get out onto the board. You can't actually cast mana to cast, you can't actually spend mana to cast him, I should say. You can only cast him by tapping creatures you have in play and feeding him cards from your graveyard, where basically you just remove all these cards from the graveyard from the game, and bam, you slap Hogaak into play. He ain't slacking, that's for sure. Hogaak is dominating, absolutely dominating Modern. Now, this isn't the first time I've spoken about Hogaak. I've talked about him a few times already. The first time that I mentioned him, obviously aside from when he got spoiled, would have been back when they banned Bridge from Below at the last banned and restricted announcement. The Hogaak deck was dominating Modern at the time, and they said, you know what we'll do? We'll go ahead and ban Bridge from Below. So they banned Bridge from Below, and lo and behold, Hogaak is still crushing it. First and second place at the latest GP with 5 positions in the top 8, basically single-handedly being the reason that you see cards like Faithless Looting and Leyline of the Void all over the place in Modern. Anyways, they did the Bridge from Below banning, and it didn't stop Hogaak. We've got a Hogaak situation where he's still crushing hardcore, just taking names all day long, to the point where there's not even a close second runner-up. The domination is absolute. Nobody can stand up to Hogaak. It is incredibly resilient to the answers that people have for it. Things like Force of Vigor have made a huge difference for that deck, where they can go, oh, nice Leyline of the Voids you had for a split second. Oh, oops, poof, they're gone. So the Hogaak situation is one where there are a number of people clamoring, saying, we need an emergency banning. You need to ban Hogaak now before the next big GP or next big Magic event. We need to see change now so that we're not just stuck under the stifling thumb of Hogaak. Now, Wizards of the Coast, through a tweet, I should say, put out on Twitter by Aaron Forsyth, said there will be no emergency banning. So the closest banning we will have for Hogaak is in 2 weeks, with the banned and restricted announcement upcoming. Now, it is very much expected that Hogaak will get banned at that time, but he may not. They may choose not to ban him still. There's a situation where some people are very angry that he hasn't been banned, and some people are happy that he hasn't been banned. So let's take a look at both sides of the coin and all the different possibilities here. So on one hand, you have the people who are angry about Hogaak not getting an emergency banning. They want him emergency banned because they see that he has very much lopsided the format in his favor. And that's undeniable. Nobody at this point can say that Hogaak is not a major defining force in Modern. That's just indisputable. So when they turn around and say, like, these are the few options we have, can you please go ahead and axe this card so Modern can have more room to breathe? There are cards you've banned in the past that are actually slower than Hogaak. Hogaak is blisteringly fast. So there are cards that you banned previously. Why can't you go ahead and just ban Hogaak now? Why do we have to wait? We all know you're going to do it. Just do it. Rip the Band-Aid off, Wizards, and get rid of Hogaak. That's the mentality that a number of players have. Now, on the other side of the coin, you have people who are saying, look, I've been preparing for these modern events. I've been doing my testing using Hogaak. I know what to expect in the meta, and I want that sort of stability where I don't have to worry a week before an event happens, 2 days before an event happens, that poof, all of a sudden the key part of my deck is gone. Because understand that when they do an emergency banning like this, they signal, hey, okay, now there's no particular automatic order to when bannings are happening. If they only do bannings at the particular announcement times, that means that you have I believe they do them, every 3 months now? So you have a 3-month period within which you know that nothing is going to be entering or leaving the format in that regards, where it's just like maybe a new standard set releases into Modern, but you don't have to worry about cards exiting Modern unexpectedly, just crippling your deck. So you have that scenario as well. Now, I have to admit that underneath it all, I think that this whole problem arose because Modern Horizons was put into Modern as a marketing gimmick. I genuinely think this is what happened. I think they designed Time Spiral 2, and then somewhere in the marketing department, they said, you know, if we could put Modern in the name of this set, it would speak to people and make them think of the master sets, and then we could increase the price on this product. So they went and said, basically, would it be okay if we threw this set into Modern and just see what happens? So they went, you know what, let's do it. And they just put the set out there. I don't think for a second that when they designed the set, they were intentionally targeting it towards Modern. I genuinely think it was an afterthought. And they just went, yeah, you know what, let's roll with it and see what happened. Now, there was a half cryptic remark made by Rosewater saying that they've made a number of mistakes in Magic the Gathering, and their most recent mistake was a black-green hybrid. Now, most people think Hogaak because, honestly, what else are you going to think? So we have a scenario where, to me, they essentially released a set into Modern just to profit off the sale of the set. It's not in their best interest to ban a card that is in a new product like Modern Horizons. They've signaled that they want to do multiple iterations of Modern Horizons. Now, I think a Hogaak ban is essentially inevitable, but I do also think that they want to push it off as much as possible so that they can basically preserve the integrity of Modern Horizons as a product. Nothing's been banned from it. If you buy a pack, you don't have to worry about a chance of getting a card that's not banned. Some people will turn around and say, oh, this has nothing to do with, Hogaak doesn't have anything to do with the marketing and the pricing of Modern Horizons, and if they ban it, it doesn't affect anything at all, and they point at the low price of Hogaak. But part of the reason that Hogaak's price is so low is that people are fully expecting a ban. People are expecting Hogaak to get banned, and that has a depressive effect on a price. When people think they're not going to be able to use a card, fewer people are willing to gamble their money buying it, and when fewer people are willing to take that gamble, naturally you will see a slump in prices as the people with the cards want to sell them, so they'll lower the card to the price where people will actually purchase it, and the fact that it's a rare instead of a mythic rare. Now, I think this just speaks to the fact that they didn't actually know specifically what was really going to impact Modern, because they didn't design the set for Modern. They just went, fine, you know what, toss it into Modern, whatever. Now, in terms of whether they should emergency ban Hogaak, in my opinion, no. I think that sticking to the regular banning schedule is the most reasonable course of action, unless it's catastrophic levels, and generally catastrophic levels are only going to happen in Standard, because the truth of the matter is that Modern doesn't push nearly as much in terms of pack sales, and an unhealthy Modern format most of the time actually won't impact any product that's currently available, because up until now, all the products that were involved in Modern were all either Standard products or reprint sets that just brought stuff back into Modern. So you don't have a scenario where it's really impacting sales. And when Standard gets really stagnant, like if Hogaak was in Standard, I don't think there would be any hesitation. And I mean, well, let me clarify. If Hogaak was in Standard and having this much of a warping effect, if something showed up in Standard that was as dominant as Hogaak, they would pretty much instantly be like, okay, we've got to emergency ban this now. The same way that you saw the very quick emergency banning of Felidar Guardian like 2 days after the ban and restricted announcement. So they had a ban and restricted announcement. They went, oh, you know what, we're not going to nerf this combo. And then after a couple days of just watching people play online, they went, oh God, we've made a terrible mistake. Emergency ban button now. Because protecting standard equals protecting the sale of all the different expansions that are currently available in standard. So I think that they're going to take a lighter range approach with modern. That's just their, that is what I think their philosophy is. But overall, I think it's healthier for the game to have no emergency ban. So that's the situation you want to avoid completely if you can. Sometimes it will be necessary when they screw up. Ideally, we'll get to a point where they won't do that ever again, where they won't have to emergency ban things. But when you have the exact, like, okay, 4 times a year, we're going to come out and go, here's your ban stuff. It gives stability and order. If an emergency ban can happen on a whim, or what feels like a whim to some customers, then what happens is it basically becomes every day is a gamble. And that's not good for the stability of the game. That's not good for the mentality of the players. It's a real feel-bad scenario when cards get banned, and you're less likely to purchase more product if you think things are going to get banned. On top of that, it would be a really frustrating experience to just lose the deck that you're about to use. Oh, boom, I planned out to use this deck for these events, and all of a sudden like that, no, readjust to the meta, acquire new cards, get everything else that you need. All these different factors come together to say that having regular bannings is the way to go. So to summarize everything, Hogaak is not getting emergency banned. I don't think that it should. A couple more weeks does affect a couple more events, but at this point, it's just better for the stability of the banned and restricted cycle as a whole if they just wait 2 weeks. And at that point, I fully believe they need to axe Hogaak. Hogaak needs to go for Modern to have any semblance of health. Like, it's just brutalized right now. Now, let me know what you guys think, because I am not a master of the meta. I don't actually currently play Modern, so this is just an outsider's perspective, just the way that I view it. So by all means, fill me in the comments. I want to thank my patrons and channel members for supporting the work that I do. And remember,
together we are the 6th color of magic.